This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
Yes, welcome into Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven alongside my tag team partner, Nuclear Heat contributor and Eagles fan. So he's happy for now, Augie Pena. Augie, how's it going today?
No, it's going great. Just like you said, Eagles pulled it out. It was a good week of wrestling. Monday was good in there, and just a great overall day. If the Huskers could have pulled out a win, it would have been great. But we'll take with what we got right now.
Yeah, that Husker basketball game sure wasn't much worth watching there.
No,
it just kind of escaped from. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
But luckily, we don't have to spend too much time on that. We can focus on, of course, wrestling this week, which, like you mentioned, was really revolved around Raw on Netflix. I mean, this was the big debut for people around the world to kind of get a look into what WWE is all about for Netflix. For Raw, which had previously been the longest running episodic weekly thing on TV, now moving to Netflix. So it was just a big deal, and they made it feel as such. It felt like a very big deal by having a lot of different appearances from past greats. Of course, The Rock made his way out there. The Undertaker as a surprise. Logan Paul had an announcement. John Cena had an announcement. Hulk Hogan was there and got booed. So that was even just as entertaining.
That's hilarious.
And then, of course, Triple H opening up. So there's a lot of big names. And then, of course, the billing was a big fight, too. I mean, this was somewhat of a premium live event. And I saw reports saying that some of these matches they may have scrapped from WrestleMania just to put in here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how big they kind of viewed this spot here. Of course, main evented with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. You had the tribal combat match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa to kick it off. And, of course, Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, which WWE feels like they can go back to that well over and over again. And entertaining matches. So let's jump right into it. Again, we usually review the previous week in WWE, and we start off with generally the most entertaining. If something crazy happens Friday night, we usually talk about it. But if the headline is in Raw, we'll start with Raw. So that's where we will start this week. Of course, one day ahead of Raw on Netflix, the second episode, which will be interesting to see how they stylize that, because we said they made a big presentation out of this one. From the pre-show, Triple H and The Rock having kind of their own promos. In the ring, they changed the ring up, had the logos in there, and so I'm interested to see how much of it translates from week to week. But let's go ahead and describe what kind of happened there. Like I said, Triple H kind of welcomed the WWE universe to Netflix, and then in wrestling fashion, pyro erupted all around him, and it looked great. And I thought that they're just kind of production of putting that together, going through the years of the highs of and excitements of the WWE over the years was fantastic. Very well done. If there's something we know WWE can do, even people that don't necessarily like wrestling understand they can do promos and they can put video packages together. And they did a heck of a job doing that. And then The Rock's music hit, and everybody was just going nuts. And he came out as like a suit.
Yeah.
Now, instead of the final boss, unfortunately, went out there and thanked Cody Rhodes, thanked Roman Reigns, thanked the Netflix people, which got highlighted for the night, and good for the Netflix people. Thank you for doing what you guys do. But that was basically what that was about, was thanking Netflix and oddly greeting Cody Rhodes. What was your thoughts about that? It is, again, an introduction to a lot of people watching it, getting caught up with, okay, that's our star, putting over our current star. So it makes sense in that realm. But of course, The Rock as the great one, as the final boss character, is supposed to be fighting tooth and nail to get to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I hated it. As a wrestling fan, and I think that was kind of the general belief from fans, on in the Twitter sphere and out there, that just it makes sense, as you said. This is on Netflix. A lot of new fans, they want to see The Rock just kind of as the baby face, the main, one of the main guys on there. But man, in that moment, it was just bad. It was just really bad. The last time we saw The Rock, he was doing that cutting throat 3 thing, to Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and then he goes out and says, thank you. He says, thank you for carrying the WWE this past year to Cody Rhodes. And that just, I think just like pierced me in the heart. I was just like, well, what are you talking about? And he's like, and I want to thank another guy, my cousin, Roman Reigns, and it's like, okay, the two guys we're all hoping as wrestling fans, we've been building up, and the WWE has kind of been building up to have these massive feuds with going into WrestleMania season. You're now thanking and loving and, giving all the praise to. It like I said, as a wrestling fan, is very confusing, and I was kind of turned off by it on there. But then, of course, the business side of it, as you said, he's, a stakeholder, he's part of that corporate, the suit guy. The Rock is, even though his last, I'm a big Rock fan, even though his last movies haven't been great, he's still one of the biggest stars in the world, so he's a huge draw.
Yeah.
So they did this. I just hope, with him kind of being more involved in storylines, that they get back to, the final boss, Rocky, pretty fast, because I just don't think that was great what they did.
Yeah. And again, understandable. And people on the business side will argue that's the right move. And again, you get that, but it's just from the time the music hit and you were just thinking of all the different directions it was going to possibly go on Raw and Netflix to open up, to include the fact that Tribal Combat was going to happen that night. So you're thinking, what's he going to say about the match and so just everything of different directions that could have gone. That was by far the least exciting. But again, at least we got the next Netflix people some TV time, so they're happy about it, and we get to move on. I mean, and so there was a few things that he did say there. I think it was basically announced that the show is the largest arena gate in WWE history, and it was in the Intuit Dome, the brand new home of the Clippers.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool. They had lights on basically every seat, so it just looked like a packed arena. And there were certain times you could pick out some seats that were open, but for the most part, it looked like a pretty darn excited environment for what was going on there. And of course, since then the fire is out in LA, so lots of prayers to everybody out there, and hopefully they're kind of fighting. I know everybody's fighting through that, but on this night in LA, it was a very cool environment to have this event.
Yeah, it was. And I thought, I don't know if you picked it up, that drone footage I thought was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
On there, I thought that was a great thing to do. I don't know if you noticed it. I don't know what kind of Netflix package you bought, but I bought the no commercial one. So did you see those blackouts happen like a lot throughout the show? Like it just kind of suddenly went black, and it felt like there should have been a commercial or an ad.
I didn't notice
it didn't.
That, no.
Yeah, so
I
I noticed like throughout most of it. So it had their own ads and things like that. But throughout most, like a lot of it, there was sometimes they just kind of go black for a second and came back, and it seemed like it was going to a commercial, but it just went right back into the action. But it just confused me because they did that a lot. But yeah, I thought it was great. The atmosphere was amazing. It all just it felt like I when you and I talked on Saturday outside or mentioned before, it kind of felt like a pre, and you mentioned a pre WrestleMania, like a mini WrestleMania. I mean, I loved it. There weren't a whole lot of like storylines, like people actually speak. It was just wrestling, you had The Rock, John Cena, Triple H kind of do their talking, but the rest of it was, hey, here are these matches, let's get to it. And we haven't had one of those in a long time, on a Raw or a SmackDown. And I thought that was just very refreshing.
Yeah, it was. It felt like, they got a lot done. They got a lot done in the time that they were given here. And let's jump into some of that action, because they did have the Tribal Combat, Ula Fala on the line, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa, for what it was worth, was kind of controlling the match for a lot of the match. But then it wasn't going to take long. We know what was going to happen here. Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu were going to get involved. And that was countered by Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso. What we didn't know, or maybe what you wouldn't have thought, is that Kevin Owens actually got in and got a stunner on Roman. So he wanted to be the difference. Of course, this was for Cody Rhodes to come out and make the save. And after that, Reigns was able to get out of the way of a Samoan spike, get a spear for the win. And then after the match, a cool moment as The Rock does come out in storyline more so, and place the Ula Fala around the neck of his now undisputed tribal chief, Roman Reigns, who now, as we've learned on SmackDown, we'll get to that later, has his sights moving forward. So this seems to be the end of the Roman Solo fight that they've had, and we've mentioned they put Solo over at times, over Cody, over Roman to get those pins. And again, you would think it all kind of brought in together. It was interesting that it was the first match of the night. So generally when you're kind of thinking the big surprises, anything that would have involved The Rock, you thought might have been held off for the end of the night. So sometimes where the match is booked, maybe can start to gear you a certain way. And you'll notice the trend throughout the night. The good guys got a lot of work done tonight. Roman Reigns, now a good guy, gets the win, gets the Ulafala, and is the OTC now, the only tribal chief, not the original.
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. It actually had me kind of on the edge of my seat, because I was like, when Jacob and them interrupted and all that, I was like, man, Solo, we kind of talked about it. If it wasn't ending here, Solo had to take the win. But if this is the end, Roman is the guy. And they had a couple times where it looked like Solo was legitimately going to get that. But I thought it was a great way to start it. Kind of the Netflix era there, the first match of the night, and then you have Roman pinning Solo. That's just huge. In there, and then of course we talked about it, The Rock putting the Ulafala on him, acknowledging him. That, I was kind of waiting for something to happen there for The Rock to turn on him, and obviously that didn't happen. In there. And so, I am curious to see what they do with Solo here, because they've been trying to build him up from just completely destroying him, last year on that. And then this, as you said, hopefully should just end their whole story about who's the tribal chief and everything in there. Just maybe keep him away, for a little bit, bring him back, maybe reignite this feud after WrestleMania. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing, what they can do to him. But for right now, now you turn your attention to Roman Reigns. Where does he go from here? He's now the tribal chief. Is he gonna, will they have The Rock do something? Cody, I think Friday they kind of mentioned something about that. So this was a great way to end this feud, kind of start the Netflix era off with that first match, and then kind of just open up the imagination of what could be next.
Yeah, and again, I think it is one of those matches that just kind of puts a pen to a lot of what they've been doing over the last several months. And it was always going to be Roman Reigns over Solo Sikoa. The idea was, how are you going to get there? And I don't know if they got, again, not always the way that I would do it. I think War Games didn't necessarily need CM Punk and Bronson Reed involved. Again, I think I could have made this a little bit more personal. But this is the route they went, and this is the conclusion that we all saw coming. And like you said, now it just kind of leaves questions to what's next for the new bloodline, right? Yeah. And will Solo fall in line? Maybe get back in with the old bloodline, but where does that leave Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa? So lots of questions there. My one critique is that Kevin Owens got involved. Cody Rhodes had to chase him out. We knew that there's still, and they continued this last, the other night too on SmackDown, is when there's a month away and you already kind of have your matchup set, then you're pretty much left with filler. Yeah. And filler in this feud's case has been, brawling each other out of the arena, which again can be fun and is exciting for the live crowd, but it can kind of get redundant, and especially to me, in a match that you've put so much into, to just kind of bring that feud into it real quick throws off the attention, right? Yeah. Like, what is Kevin Owens is supposed to have this crazy amount of hate, and he's very dangerous, and he's going after Cody, and he's very frustrated with him, and he's going to pause that real quick to go in and go after Roman, and that should be like, if you do that, that should be a huge story. That should be, wow, he's going after Roman. Now him and Roman have some beef, but it didn't last too long. And I understand it. Part of his frustration with Cody this whole time is that he sided with Roman. So this is somewhat revolved around Roman, but it just felt like a little bit too much for me. Too much interference for again, a tribal combat match, which we learned from WrestleMania doesn't really mean anything. It just means as many people can get involved as they want.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. It kind of worried you that it was going to be like the traditional, ending we've had for the past 2-3 years, of Sammy, Cody, Kevin, the bloodline. Just we've had that, for the past 3 years. I think ever since we're going on a year and a half of this show, we've complained. This is how they end every main event of a Raw or SmackDown, and it had that feel to it. And they were successful with it at WrestleMania, but that's because of who they brought. It wasn't Kevin Owens and Cody. It was John Cena, The Undertaker, The Rock. They had them, so I feel like they were kind of maybe trying to bring that back. But the whole Kevin Cody thing, that was totally unnecessary. I think, that was kind of one of the biggest, like you said, I kind of saw that on social media too. The biggest critiques is why.
Yeah.
You had Sammy and Jay. They cleared, the other two out of the ring. It was one-on-one. You could have just had it there, kept it within, the bloodline. But you had to go and remind us that Kevin and Cody are kind of doing their thing there too. So yeah, that makes sense on that.
Now, if you have Kevin Owens going there and costing the match, then you've got a whole nother thing to go through. But if it's just going to be the two of them chasing each other out, then is it worth the initial shock of, oh my gosh, there's Kevin Owens, and then okay, well, there's Cody.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it too was Cody was in the stand with the fans front row like 10 minutes prior to this, right?
Because they showed him on the screen.
But then they have him run from the back,
right?
And I was expecting if Cody was going to interfere, it's because he was right there. No, they made him go back to the back and run all the way down. So that kind of got me, and I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. You have to have super good guy Cody just kind of save the day as always.
Yeah, you gotta throw that in there. But again, maybe remember CM Punk might still be reaching for a favor from Paul Heyman at one time. Maybe now Roman Reigns does feel indebted to Cody Rhodes because of that. So maybe we'll see them kind of work that in at some point. But as for just the match, it felt a little bit overbooked at that point. And also interesting in this that this was definitely Netflix and that the crowd did not like Solo.
Yeah.
And you could hear the curse words about Solo, which I was surprised. The Rock, had he come back in his character instead of the suit, we probably would have learned that a little bit earlier because he usually gets away with saying the most profanities. But the crowd took the first big kind of noticeable one, I suppose, here on Netflix. Yeah,
I did notice that too. And another thing with the whole Cody involvement, the transfer portal's there. They didn't have Gunther on the show, right? They had Cody on the show. That kind of tells you kind of where they're going. I mean, if you don't have Gunther, your world champ, who's on Raw, on the Netflix premiere, that's probably telling you he's going to move to SmackDown, and Cody's probably coming over to Raw.
It feels that way, and Gunther's just been missing in general. They and maybe he's just getting some rest, but maybe an injury, maybe it might be popping up there. Because I was going to say, rest isn't the best idea during your first world title run. Like, I get it; it can be a grind, but this is kind of a big deal here. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll see some from him pretty soon here. Then we had John Cena come out for the last time is now. Role of John Cena. He basically came out and said, well, you know what? I've kind of got a losing streak going on. So I'm just not going to go after the 17th title until it was Los Angeles itself that inspired him to enter the Royal Rumble and try to win that 17th title. Since then, heard that maybe get Ric Flair involved, which would be great because him and Cena are tied at 16. Yeah. And the heel that Flair has been throughout his career, I would love him to come back and cost Cena a match real quick so he can't get 17. If they're going to pull it off. But, there's different critiques about maybe the way you get there. But I thought this was excellent because it makes more sense for this kind of retirement tour. Because if they were just going to ignore it the whole time, it's going to be kind of like, okay, it's something, but you kind of got to put it on the wayside. It's not the kind of main event that you're looking for. But if he's going after number 17, specifically entering the Royal Rumble, if he fails there, you still got Elimination Chamber. So we've got some time to chase this. It should be fun.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I thought this was amazing. This is a great way to bring John Cena back. He's right behind The Rock, one of the biggest superstars in the world. He's just kind of doing everything. And, the fact that he's a WWE wrestler, is just kind of a blessing for us as fans. In there, I differ from you. I don't want Ric Flair anywhere near this because the respect him, one of the greats, but he's one of those. Just let it go, man. You're almost 80. You're still trying to wrestle. You just can't do it anymore. He
has the last match every 2 years.
Yeah, and it just it's like they try to bring him in with Charlotte, to do all that, and they did some crazy things there. Just no. Just keep him away. Maybe bring him in to acknowledge John. Surpasses him when it happens.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that, but. Yeah, just leave Ric Flair away from that. And another fun thing is I saw John Cena's new merch, right? Very nice. Tried to go find it on the WWE shop. It was crashed because everybody apparently, I guess, was looking for it.
Oh, good.
So it took till after the show. But he's got some pretty nice merch out there right now on there. And I'm gonna be rocking some for this show every once in a while.
I forget who was that the last time we did see Ric Flair on WWE television. They didn't quite say it, but they were close to saying that he impregnated
Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans.
Oh
that's
my
what it
gosh!
Was.
Yeah. So that's the storyline they were going to go with because they had them there, but she got pregnant in real life.
Yeah.
And that stopped that story. Thank goodness, that stopped that storyline, and they were just going off the rails. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to bring Ric Flair back. And then I think he went to AEW, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's just, like I said, one of the GOATs, has the most championships. He just doesn't know when to stop. Kind of like Chris Jericho. I don't know if you've seen any of the clips from his matches.
You're just going after AEW
Dude,
guys.
no, okay. I'm just going after guys that,
no, it's fair.
just when
I know what you're saying.
when your time's up, your time's up.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Come back like I'm going to say this right now, like a Hulk Hogan, just maybe not as bad, as he is. Just come back like that, every once in a while in appearance. You don't got to come back and try to wrestle and get involved in a storyline. Just be a legend, kind of live off of that for the rest of your life. Don't put yourself through that anymore.
That's what I've seen, like fan theories or hopes of HBK coming back too for a fight with AJ Styles or something. You're just thinking, I don't know. That last matchup they had with Kane, Undertaker, HBK, and Triple H, that just felt like maybe that should be time for everybody collectively to pack it up. That was a good payday, but
and I mean, HBK doesn't have any hair anymore, so I just don't know
it's not the same.
What the feel, and I mean, if you look at it, you can tell he's not in wrestling shape anymore, and that's where I'm saying. I mean, I can't talk much, but Chris Jericho, Ric Flair, they're not what they used to be. They look older and they can't move like they used to, and it's kind of sad, when they try to have that last match because they had it 20 years ago, and Ric Flair's, like you said, every year he's having, a last match on there.
Yeah.
It just gets worse each and every time. I mean, just chill. Let John Cena have his time. He's hanging it up because, he's been in on podcasts saying, when I'm done, I'm done. He's like, I'm not going to do those. He's like, I might pop in and promote. He's like, but I'm done in the ring. That's what these guys need to do.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Like I said, maybe we're reaching and grab. Maybe that's all I'm asking.
Maybe
for the dirtiest player in the game. But we'll see if he gets involved.
If he could reach and grab it,
Yeah. We'll see how that turns out. That's talking about a couple guys about ready to hang it up. How about a guy that's going full time? Logan Paul, in a video package, revealed that WWE is not a side hustle. He's now 100% in as a WWE superstar, which is very cool. He's always kind of felt and kind of gets the fan attention and has really leaned into the heel impact of that, which is what you get usually when celebrities come in. They're it kind of happened with Ronda Rousey. Is they're initially welcomed, celebrated, and then there's this kind of, you're not one of us. You didn't earn your stripes. You just got everything that you have because of your star power, and the fans turn on you. And Logan Paul never really had too much time as a baby face, but quickly they realized, okay, this guy can get a lot of heat on him, and he naturally really does. And so I don't know what that means. Maybe hook, line, and sinker. I'm all the way in and having my dreams of Logan Paul becoming the next Miz, but that's what I want. I mean, I think he is absolutely incredible in the ring, can draw great heat, and then there's the obvious outside influence that he can bring, especially with now, Raw and Netflix. They're kind of reaching for that sort of stuff with the branding and stuff they've done with his company. It just seems like a fantastic marriage that he's good enough to go I could watch him on SmackDown and Raw and not tire of him.
Yeah. And now that they're at Netflix, and it seems like you can do whatever you want on Netflix, right? Like there's no rating on there. So, with that, just let him bring out that, that horrible, kind of YouTube personality that people think he has. Let him have it now. Let him bring his brother, let him bring his crew, just kind of just be themselves. Cause I think that'll grab a bunch of attention. Like you said, he's one of the biggest YouTuber social media influencers in the world. You bring him into the ring, and I agree with you. I think he is great in the ring. He's a high flyer. He can go, one-on-one with anybody. He is another Miz, just a younger Miz on there, and he's only like 26 years old, 27. Yeah. So you could potentially have him another 10 years. Kind of, this is somebody you could maybe put the company on, the back, on his back, and just say, hey, take us with you, on there. So I think this is great for him there. And I think it's funny because I think just last month they were saying he had said he was done. He was retiring. Right. And now look at that. He's back full time and he's 100%. So yeah, I say bring his brother, who's the boxer, just bring everybody and just kind of let them do their thing and just have fun with this. And I think that'll be great for everybody to watch.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where he ends up moving forward. I suppose he announced it on Raw, so he's going to be in with Raw, but that will be exciting. Then we had the Women's World Championship match between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and we'll talk all about that when we get back on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Who wants free diamonds? This holiday season, as a thank you for shopping with us, Sartor Heyman Jewelers is giving you free diamonds. Now through December 6th, receive a pair of sparkling diamond stud earrings, a stunning diamond pendant, or a gorgeous diamond tennis bracelet for free with your qualifying purchase. We only have a limited number to give away, so once they're gone, they're gone. Don't wait on this one. Visit Sartor Heyman Jewelers, where your gift shopping shines brighter. In Lincoln at South Point Mall, downtown, and in Grand Island on State Street.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, wanting to thank you all again for your continued service. November is off and running. Check this out. Get up to $12,000 off or 0% financing on select new vehicles. We have great lease specials with new Trax and Trailblazers starting at $299 per month and new Blazer EVs leasing for $399. Great payments, discounts, and of course, 0% financing. So make that short drive down 144th Street or check us out online at CoppellCars.com. You'll be glad you did. All finance with approved credit, leases with $2,500 down.
This holiday season, recharge with the Planet Fitness Black Card for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. So instead of fighting a stranger in the mall over a stuffed T-Rex, bring a friend for free and work out on the TRX. Instead of freezing in line for a lame holiday deal, relax in the Black Card Spa with some hydro massage feels. Instead of being trapped at your in-laws, escape to any of our 2,600 Planet Fitness locations. Sign up today for the Planet Fitness Black Card. Just $1 down and $24.99 a month. Deal ends Friday, December 6th. See Club for details.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Early break.
There's quite a situation going on.
What?
Jake's been asked to step away on Fridays from now on.
Yeah,
they want to break. Young Ben has been dubbed as the curse breaker. He's been dubbed as the curse breaker, and Jake's been asked kindly to step away.
Just for Fridays.
Just Fridays.
Just Fridays only.
Game
day only.
Yes.
Game day eve only.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yes, we are back here on Nuclear Heat talking about wrestling this past week in the WWE. specifically Raw on Netflix as it made its debut. And we got through a little bit of the show in that first segment. If you want to listen to that, go to ticketfm.com and check out the podcast page here after the show. But we are now arriving at the time where we review the Women's World Championship between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Of course, one of the bigger female feuds that we've had over in WWE in the last several years. As much of the story as they've done in much of this feud is that Ripley is the bigger opponent, I suppose, in this. So she kind of dominated early in this thing. Eventually, get interference from Dominic Mysterio, and Raquel Rodriguez, as you would expect. But we ultimately did end with Rhea Ripley getting the pin in the win. This was not without a nice little callback spot that with the steel chair where she tried to do the Oblivion there, which is a callback to the SummerSlam, how Morgan actually won this title from Rhea Ripley originally. She tried to do that again here. Ripley caught her and delivered 2 consecutive riptides to finish the match here. And then after the match, Dom Mysterio went in. He begged his way back to Mommy, and Mommy kicked him in the nether regions, and then went ahead and hit him with the riptide as well. And then after the match, Ripley got a big sign of approval from the American Badass Undertaker. The gong hit, and so the Undertaker was going. It was crazy, and then it very quickly went to the American Badass. So a lot to kind of break down in that match, and I'd advise you to do so here in a second here, Augie. But I want to ask you: is this the end? Is this finally the end of Rhea in Liv? Because it seems like it maybe could be. You at least put kind of a bow with the last riptide on Dominic. I think would be a nice way to do it, and maybe we can move on to something different. But after all, WrestleMania here a couple months away. They've been stretching this feud out for the entire year. Maybe they'll keep it going.
Yeah, I hope so. Or maybe just a pause, because eventually Liv has that rematch clause, which we don't know that they do anymore. Nia Jax has to fight for her spot back, so you just don't know if they really have that. But if they want to, kind of cool this off and bring it back, because I feel like if you do that, it could be good. And have, Rhea go, feud with someone else. I think that'd be great. And maybe have Liv go away for just a little bit. I will say they made Liv look a lot better in this match because she took a couple riptides. She delivered a couple moves. She didn't look like, at times she did still, undersized, but they need to bring back that like underdog persona that she had. But I hope it's the end of it. I kind of get the sense maybe not, especially because, later on in the show, they do like those, they were doing interviews. Rhea was with Damian Priest again, the Terror Twins. They didn't really have the Judgment Day. You never know, you never know what's going to happen here, but I do hope they at least move on, pause, let them kind of do their own thing. And then eventually maybe in a year or so, come back to it.
Yeah. We could certainly see, Rhea maybe finishing off her next opponent and then Liv coming out here to reignite that here. If they do want to go that route. How excited you were for the Undertaker gong hit?
I was very excited. It's always great to see it. WrestleMania, I thought they used that to perfection. That was the last time we've seen him. To bring him back and then to see the American Badass, I was like, okay, this is cool. Him and Rhea, kind of the same thing, and he kind of just went around and that. I thought it was great. It's a really good throwback. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, I think, for most people. So to see him kind of give his stamp of approval on Rhea, who already I don't think really needs that, but to kind of get it
for the new crowd.
I think was a great moment to kind of have those two be together there.
Yeah, and they did do the kind of Brothers of Destruction fists in the air there at the end. I thought they could have went with Rhea jumping on the Undertaker's motorcycle and riding away, but it was a one-seated motorcycle.
Yeah,
so I guess not.
I actually thought that's what was going to happen when when he stopped, because they stopped looking behind, and everything. And I was like, oh, she's going to get on the motorcycle. They're going to ride off together.
Yeah.
There we go. On there. But yeah, they did not. But the one thing I'll say is, man, we are getting old because the Undertaker is looking
also getting old.
Yes. And that made me a little sad, because he's somebody that carried, the WWE while, younger watching it. And just to kind of see them get older like that, the real reminder, we're not as young as we used to be, or we think we are at times.
Yeah, it's the evolution of a wrestling fan too. Is when you're young, when you're a kid and you look at these old guys getting out there, like, yeah, who cares? The legends out here. And then now you're kind of middle-aged. Those guys are the guys that you grew up with. So.
Yep, they're the legends. And John Cena's got hair, but a big bald spot, things like that. I mean, yeah, just crazy things.
Yeah. And wrestling, of course, takes its toll on you over the years. So it is interesting to see those that can fight through it. And I'm always interested too. Like we talked about, or we mentioned quickly during the break is like a Kane or Rey Mysterio that just keeps fighting, like never leaves, and you wonder, what kind of reception they're going to get if they can return, or when they do make the return. And Kane's done it a few times now, but it's just kind of interesting because some people go away, and that missing them is what kind of heightens their legendary status. And then the guys that kind of stick around, it kind of hurts them that they're just in it week in and week out, and they still have their legendary status, but they just don't get that time to kind of be celebrated as much.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe they'll, maybe Rey Mysterio will have a couple years. We'll, jump in the Royal Rumble or something too out of nowhere to surprise us.
Yeah, they do it all the time, and like you said, they're always like, oh yeah, and coming back for 1 week only is Hulk Hogan, or I can't even spit out a name anymore. But just somebody that's always kind of around. But Kane hasn't been around in a while. I feel like the only place they can really have him come back is Tennessee for obvious reasons. On there, he might get booed out of the arena too. With that. So, but yeah, no, I agree. They got to do that. And they had Nikki Bella was one of their special guests that they had, and I thought she had removed the Bella name and kind of talked bad on the WWE. Things might not be going so good in her personal life for her to need to come back to the WWE.
They always come and crawling back.
Always do. That was weird to see, because and a bunch of people pointed out, I thought she said she never wanted to use the name Nikki Bella again.
Yeah.
She was pretty quick to go back to it on John Cena's return night. I'm just saying.
Shout out to Bill Simmons, by the way, who wasn't acknowledged. There was plenty of celebrities that were acknowledged there, but when Nikki Bella was acknowledged and she was doing her dance, he had his eyes straight forward. You can tell he was. He knew he was on camera.
Yeah, there was a lot of actors though, and actresses that were not acknowledged throughout the night. But Bill Simmons, I thought was going to be acknowledged right away. Normally like they're like, he just waited his turn because I think he was like in the second segment of people acknowledged. But when they did the Boy Meets World, they did Topanga. They didn't do Eric, and I was like, you can't do that to him. But I thought that was cool, to see all those celebrities out there and all that. And I thought it was weird. They were kind of rotating WWE stars that are current, like Dakota Kai, Damage Control. They kind of had them sitting in the same spot, rotated. But it's cool. Fluffy was there. McCulkin.
Macaulay Culkin.
I thought his brother, they were both there. I thought that was a great time. It's always fun to see those people there.
And too, like you said, when you mix in the stars, Tiffany Stratton right off winning the championship that she did, got a huge ovation. And apparently WWE was pretty impressed with the ovation she got. So look for her to continue to be booked to the stars, as if having the belt isn't enough of that. But then we go to Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre here. Jey Uso already one of the best entrances in the game. How about add Travis Scott smoking a doobie with it? That's what you have. This is Netflix, and that's what they did. So Jey Uso entered against Drew McIntyre. This was a really good in-ring match. If you're if you're kind of into the actual wrestling, a couple near falls here, as good action, but then it kind of ended pretty quickly. Uso caught McIntyre with a crucifix, pin for the win, which gives Jey Uso, like I said, the win over Drew McIntyre. One of those deals where he didn't dominate him, just kind of got him in the right, a wrestling move kind of thing for the win. So you feel like there's still some meat on those bones, and that's where they're going to go next. And maybe that's what they needed to do to elongate this Jey Uso Drew McIntyre feud. However, I just can never get my head around, how much I just feel like they just take Drew McIntyre for granted a little bit. How much heat that he can create just by coming out. He's been, he opened up the last week. We were talking about, he opened up he interrupted the first segment on SmackDown. He interrupted the first segment on Raw. And again, maybe all of this to kind of get you to believe that he's not going to lose to Jey Uso, but here he does. And again, I don't know. Uso, again, very over with the crowd. Has one of the best entrances, and this was a good guy night. They basically booked all the good guys as the winners. But I thought that this was a mistake because we've talked about it last week. There's not really anybody to give Drew McIntyre. It shouldn't be anyway. Too much problem for him to go through the Shield, or excuse me, not the Shield, but the Bloodline.
Yeah.
He did so, disposed of Sami Zayn in a couple episodes and a few matches, and then immediately has problems with Jey Uso. it's interesting because in a way it somewhat buries Sammy a little bit more. And I don't know if Jimmy's ever going to get on either of their levels. So there's no, there's really no expectation that that's going to happen there. Maybe it will to try to get him over again. But it's just, to me, Drew McIntyre can carry so much heat when he's angry, and he's really one of their best in-ring performers. And Mike, and just everything put together. But he's always kind of, over the last several years, it's been just win, loss, win, loss. And in the biggest moments, lose. And this wasn't even the biggest moment. It was just, it felt like a little too much that took away from the heat that he built up.
Yeah, and I mean, we thought endgame of this was supposed to be him and Roman, colliding. Well, how are you going to get there when you're losing to Jay? I can see where they're going because, I mean, as we said, Jay is just heat, or just on fire. I mean, that entrance was Travis Scott having Fiend play. Everything was just electric. That was amazing. It's great there. But for, I think, storyline purposes, I would have just had Drew beat him, Drew pin him, because as we said, if you're going for Roman, you got to, as you meant, you got to be able to just dispose of the rest of the bloodline to get there, to feel like you earned it, right? But they're going to probably continue this feud for a little bit because it was a great match. I mean, as you said, it was a great match, and the both of them are, as you said, great performers. Drew gets a huge pop too. I mean, not as big as Jay, because I still can't believe, just I know I talked about it, the whole yeet thing, but when you've got everybody going to the Travis Scott song Fiend that they had, that was great. And I really, really enjoyed that segment there, but we'll just have to see. And like I told you, I think 2 weeks ago or so, Sammy's, to me, feels like the doormat. They brought him back into this bloodline feud for what? For him to take the pins, for him to kind of be the guy that has to take the sacrifices. And I thought that was Jay and Jimmy too, but obviously they, maybe with the reception Jay's getting, they feel like they can't have that on there with it. So I guess we'll just have to see. But I feel like, now since Drew didn't beat Jay, this is kind of the mini feud we're going to have here, where we were thinking, he was trying to work his way up to Roman. It looks like it's kind of with Jay for right now.
And I will give them credit for this. It was a surprise. And, sometimes that's what we want. That's what we asked for, right? But usually just kind of wanted to make sense logically for the booking. And I don't know if this throws it off too much. Again, I think it just kind of elongates the bump in the road that Jey Uso will be for McIntyre on the way to Roman Reigns. But it just makes him a little less credible when he gets there anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a surprise. I thought it was a throw-in match, the last second kind of anyway. It was kind of like, okay, well, you could run this back anytime, and Drew McIntyre beat Jey Uso. I mean, remember they're keeping stats of how many times McIntyre has beaten
everybody. Yeah.
Everywhere. Well, specifically Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And that's how bad. That's how much they put him over to come up and lose to Jay so quickly. It's just kind of like, that's not probably that doesn't make a lot of sense. But we'll see. Again, he's so good at what he does. He can come back and try to get, after an episode or two, be right back to where he was. It just feels like you kind of lost a little bit of momentum there. Does it put Jey Uso over a whole lot? Not sure. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Real quickly, then we got to finish up our review of Raw on Netflix. And the only things left is a promotional beer advertisement promo here from Hulk Hogan. He came out and it was planning apparently to get cheered. He got booed so loud that on that his mic was being drowned out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I even had the or what did they call the subtext or whatever?
The subtitles.
Subtitles on television when I was watching it. It just said crowd booing.
Yep.
Right away, which was awesome. Of course, Hulk Hogan, one of the all-time greats in the ring, has said some controversial things outside the ring. And so just was not welcome in LA. There's no other way to put it. He's kind of increasingly over the years they've tried to bring him back. Again, after some racial things went public, and he never really apologized for those, at least on a stage that maybe he feels. So over the years, he's already kind of been getting less of what he normally would type of a reception. But this is a whole new level to it. And you could tell he wasn't ready. WWE wasn't ready. They just kept going with, this is great on Netflix, buy my beer, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like not acknowledging that he was getting booed out of the building.
No, I mean, now that you think of it, California probably wasn't the best place to have him come out. You kind of could now when you think of it, it kind of
Maybe
clicks.
see that coming.
Yeah, it clicks there. But man, I like when we were talking off air here, I was saying I didn't think they were booing him. I thought, oh, are they cheering him? And I was like, no, they're booing. I was like, oh, okay, that's probably part of the thing. And then you hear him kind of try to talk over it and things, and you're like, wait a minute, they're really actually trying to boo him out so you can't hear him. And I thought that was just kind of hilarious. But at the same time, it touched a little bit what we talked about. Sometimes some guys just got to go away and realize when they got to hang it up. He's got a great thing now going on with his beer line. He's still going to make his money in the limelight. And I know he loves wrestling. That he was a big part of all of it. He is, you can say top 5, of all time, I think, wrestling wise. Human being wise, probably not on there. So he's probably one of those guys, kind of like Ric Flair. You just got to you had your time. Just go retire. Go make your beer money now, Hulk. Because this reception here, I don't think they're going to be bringing him back to the WWE for a while, if that's kind of what it was.
See,
like.
I heard there might be some thoughts, and I'm hoping that this is true, is that they would work that into an angle, because that would be the greatest. Racist Hulk Hogan comes back.
Oh my gosh.
WWE has long flirted with reality and involved it into their storylines. If they did that here, I would love it, because again, that would be kind of his. That would be who he was booked as. It's kind of the racial old Hulk Hogan comes in.
I don't know. That
might be too much.
I'd rather he just be gone. But if they're gonna do it, I mean, like we said on Netflix, who knows? They're gonna it's free for all. Yeah. They've got no rating. They've got nothing to worry about. They could go back to the 90s. On there. So anything can happen. But to me, I just feel like maybe you don't want to go down that route if you're trying to bring more in, right?
No, you're probably right. I just think that would be fun. I saw that idea thrown out there. I just thought that was so funny. And it's the WWE, and so they might actually do it.
Yeah,
so we'll have to wait and see. CM Punk against Seth Rollins was the main event of the evening. Of course, this is a blood feud boiling over from years. Seth Rollins kind of carrying the company on his back while CM Punk left in a fit and now has come back. And so after this a good hard-hitting match, again, a lot of close near falls here. Rollins set up Punk for the Falcon Arrow combo, but Punk countered and delivered go to sleep twice and got the pinfall victory here. And the surprising part about this, I guess, was that it was kind of a clean finish. I mean, this was just a hard-hitting matchup. I think at the end you had a few. I think both guys a little bit busted open, not everywhere, but you could tell it was just kind of some of these moves were connecting to skulls and stuff like that. 100%. So it was a hard hitting match. It just makes you wonder if you're done from there, because now Seth Rollins, what is the big, he's already, CM Punk's kind of already telling him, you think about me daily, I don't think about you ever. And now if he beats him and Seth Rollins still is thinking about him, and they could go down that route. I just feel like Seth as a character has probably worked above that. And so we'll have to see what they do creatively next.
See, I differ. I want Seth to go full heel, full obsession over the fact that he lost to CM Punk, because this was a great match. They showed why we've been wanting this feud for 10 years, and we had to wait for it after he got hurt. And now they're both fully healthy, or as healthy as can be. Just have Seth, just obsess over the fact that he lost to CM Punk. And I mean, I've said this. CM Punk took like 5 or 6 different finishers, and kicked out. He hit Seth with 2 and beat him, right? So it kind of showed there who was kind of who wanted it more. So yeah, I would love to see that from Seth. Just bring back just the full heel obsession, Seth, and just kind of have this going, because I feel like this is a big WrestleMania match too.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, is you do feel like this could last to WrestleMania, and so that's the interest, is what's kind of the next angle here. Because usually the finish of one will let you know when the next thing is coming.
Yeah.
But this one was just a clean finish. So definitely interesting way, and a great way to bring in Raw on Netflix. Quickly, we'll talk about SmackDown when we return. We're going to take a quick break and be right back on Nuclear Heat.
Who wants free diamonds? This holiday season, as a thank you for shopping with us, Sartor Heyman Jewelers is giving you free diamonds. Now through December 6th, receive a pair of sparkling diamond stud earrings, a stunning diamond pendant, or a gorgeous diamond tennis bracelet for free with your qualifying purchase. We only have a limited number to give away, so once they're gone, they're gone. Don't wait on this one. Visit Sartor Heyman Jewelers, where your gift shopping shines brighter. In Lincoln at South Point Mall, downtown, and in Grand Island on State Street.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
With all apologies to Friday Night SmackDown, WWE Raw took a lot of our time today here on Nuclear Heat, but it was Raw on Netflix, and they built it up that way, so it's not our fault. But we will quickly go over SmackDown here as we've got our final segment. And with Royal Rumble less than a month away, they've got to start setting in some of the storylines that they've got going there. Of course, Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens will be a big part of that, and they included that on the show. But first, we had Paul Heyman come out, discuss Roman Reigns winning the Ufala back and becoming the tribal chief once again. He did bring Cody Rhodes out to tell him that that Roman Reigns is focusing now on a title, specifically that title.
Yep.
So that was exciting. But of course, Kevin Owens had to show up pretty quickly. And then him and Cody Rhodes went back at it. Meanwhile, Heyman was left alone in the middle of the ring. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga showed up and started to threaten him. Jey Uso comes out to try to make the save. Eventually, Cody Rhodes comes back in here. So it's again mix of bad guys, mix of good guys, same people involved in all brawling throughout the arena. So that's kind of what you get there. But the biggest thing to me was Roman Reigns saying that eventually he's going to go back to after Cody, which I think a lot of people still think has WrestleMania written all over it.
Oh yeah, and a big thing is in Raw he said, "When do you want to celebrate this?" Roman said January 27th. This was starting. Paul said, "Hey Cody, I want to invite you January 27th. Here we go," which is a Monday, so that kind of confirms they're maybe moving the storyline over to Raw. But yeah, I think this is great. It makes more sense. They don't like each other. They were kind of just working together to beat Solo or whatever. But yeah, I thought this was a good way to start it, and I'm excited to kind of see what they do with. I don't want it to be the main eventer, because I don't think we need 3 straight years of Code, but it could be on the WrestleMania card. Maybe slide the Rock in or something like that. Someone like that, but. I think it's fine. They do need to run it back because Roman also never got his rematch. So this makes total sense.
Well, it is interesting. If you do get there, do you want to get there with the CM Punk Seth Rollins effect where half the crowd's cheering for one, half the other? There's not really a heel involved. And that's kind of what you would have in the current situation. Or you want to start making Cody's, maybe Kevin Owens is right. And by the end, we'll all be cheering for Kevin Owens. No, I don't think so. But, at some point you turn Cody a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Like you said, a lot of different ways to go with the main event picture there. We also had some United States Championships on the line. First on the women's side, Chelsea Green defeated Michin. Again, not enough time to really go through every bit and part of this, but we also had on the mid side, LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura go at it. LA Knight eventually gets disqualified in this match, or I suppose Shinsuke does, when Tonga and Fatu interfere in this match. And this was because LA Knight earlier helped throw them out of the building. So we have to call out LA Knight for his character, at least, for being a little bit silly in doing that. And I'll go ahead and say dumb. And that was a pretty dumb move on a night of you fighting for a championship. So that's kind of what we had there. Trying to go through some of the other matches before I let you speak on them real quickly. We also had Naomi, Bianca Bailey, and Nia Jax go at it. To become the number 1 contender for Tiffany Stratton's WWE Women's Championship. To my surprise, Bailey won. Obviously we're kind of thinking maybe Nia Jax would make a lot of sense. Candice LeRae kind of showed up, so you kind of thought that might be interesting as well. And then the main event was Jimmy Uso and Cody Rhodes against Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. Again, this just kind of turned into a brawl with KO and Rhodes crashing through a table before it was all over. So again, not a main event again that you don't necessarily have to see to kind of keep up with the feud. They've done that a few shows in a row. I'm not necessarily sure if I'm a huge fan of that, but what was your kind of biggest takeaways from from Saturday or Friday night SmackDown.
Yeah, I was also surprised at the women's world title picture there. They're not going to go with Nia Jax, right? She'll probably get involved, but Bayley kind of being the first one to get the chance to challenge, I thought was surprising.
And they're going to do that on TV, so I don't know if that's going to be a feud or kind of a quick way to get a win under Tiffany's belt, strap, I should say, and moving her on.
Yeah, I just feel like it's not going to be a clean finish. I feel like Nia, it's going to be messy. They obviously don't have a clear direction of what to do. Maybe until the Rumble. There's rumors that Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch might be coming back. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who might come out and win that and challenge Tiffy. Obviously LA Knight, I was expecting him to maybe win. For it to be a no disqualification, I thought that was a big letdown. In this storyline, and they're kind of Tonga and Fatu don't really have Solo right now. They're just kind of inserting themselves in a bunch of feuds now, kind of seeing what they're gonna do. And Fatu I think will be great on his side, but I think Tonga needs to stay with Fatu, or he's gonna be Giovanni Vinci. There get his 2 seconds and gone.
Yeah.
On there, I thought this was a mid SmackDown, I would say. I was kind of a little excited at first, thinking, they'd kind of go off of the Raw, maybe continue some of those storylines, which they did to a point, and kind of try to build up things. But I think this episode really just kind of shows you the lack of star power that SmackDown has compared to Raw. And I think it's just going to get worse because Netflix is shelling out all that money, to get all the main stars. So, they need to do something, shift some rosters, because SmackDown, I would give it like a 5 out of 10 compared to Raw, which was maybe like an 8 or a 9 out of 10.
I want to remember SmackDown is at 3 hours too, so it's a lot to fill. It's a little bit of an adjustment, and we got a lot of tag team action in there as well that we didn't really go over. But so we'll have to wait and see. Again, I think part of it's just as compared to Raw, there wasn't as much put into it, and so it wasn't going to be quite the match. But I thought it was an effective way, at least to start off with Tiffany Stratton, her championship, and try to see what's going to happen there, and then of course the U.S. titles as well. You mentioned the LA Knight Shinsuke one probably wasn't a clean finish, but at least get Chelsea Green going on the right foot there, I thought was pretty good. We'll be back for more of Nuclear Heat next week for a WWE Weekend Review. That'll wrap it up for the ticket tonight.